I walking down that lonesome lane, hung down my head and cried.
It's considered home is where you feel the most comfortable. So I guess I would be most comfortable at my parents' house. It doesn't mean that other places I've lived are home, and it doesn't mean they're not. But home is where your family is and where you feel most comfortable.
Is it my turn?
And if I was to ask you the same question, how do you know when you're home?
I would think that where you have like your belongings and where you feel most comfortable and your family is. And
street life, it's just street life. There's no sense of home. You don't have a home. All you have is drugs. So if you're asking what my home was, in a sense, I guess Needle was my home.
That's a tough question. You know? I don't really know how to answer that, because being without a home, I don't really know how to answer that.
I don't know. I think you know you're home when you're loved, when you're surrounded by love.
There was no feeling how someone thought of me or what they thought of me. Right. Like I said, if there are people who are homeless who don't use drugs. Okay, there are people who have fallen in the cracks of the system that are not drug addicts and that are not alcoholics, that are just fallen in the cracks of the system and are left on the street, that they can't find a home.
But that's not your story.
That's not my story, and that's not who I am. But there are people like that, and how to separate them from us, you really can't. The sad thing is good people who have become drug addicts for whatever reason have gone and done terrible things, and you know, from stealing, robbing, anything they had to do to get their monies. But those same people, if they weren't high or on drugs, you know, they're just like you and I. They're just normal people. Right. I mean, I was just as normal as anyone else right up to 3 years ago. Like I told you before, I own my own home. I have a wife and 2 kids of 18 years. I was decorated 5 times. I served for my country in the Canadian Airborne. I mean, so I was very well respected in my community at one point. But all those things all went away when I told the people that, hey, I'm a recovering drug addict. All they saw, they didn't see that anymore. They just said, do you know Michael now? He's a drug addict.
My perception of how I thought this interview was going to go down, or how it was going to happen, was I was going to speak with somebody like yourself, who I would have heard, say, the last 3 years trying to struggle to get a home, and always, it just doesn't sound like that. Was it like for you? You had absolutely no conception about having a home, what home meant for you. No. You wanted nothing to do with that, by the sounds of things. No. So
all I wanted to do was get up and get high every day, so I could feel nothing. Because I am a human being, and if you don't have the drugs in your body, then you start having feelings and emotions. And most drug addicts that I've seen in the last 3 years want to feel nothing. That's all they want, is to feel nothing. They're not asking to be accepted. They're not asking. All they're trying to do is get enough money so they can have their drugs. That's all they care about.
So you never at that point really felt homeless? You never felt like...
I felt nothing. It hit me when I was looking in the mirror. I looked in the mirror there at Christmas time, and that's when it hit me. I saw myself putting a needle in my arm, you know. So doing that, that's when I realized.
So when you saw that reflection? I
saw myself putting a needle in my arms, and I had become what I never thought I'd become. I was a drug addict.
Right. Oh, you're looking for.
You are. Yeah. I mean, I found one of the things I found with drug addicts, when they make that conscious choice that they want to be clean and they go looking for help, they need that help right there and then. Not next week or the day after. They need it right then when they call out for it. And unfortunately, we don't have places that can provide stuff that quickly, where they can get you into a detox right away. I mean, there's lists, there's long waiting lists.
Community forums like this, trying to come up with solutions that are an alternative to enforcement is of great benefit, because the people that we arrest, they go into jail, and very few of them have access to resources to clean themselves of the addiction that they have. And they're for short period times of incarceration, and then they're back out onto the street, and they're into the same life because they have nowhere else to go.
And I'd get up in the morning, I'd try and get myself to look as presentable as I could. I'd take, go to the nearest mall.
That you wanted to present yourself as the best way you could. Were you in the washrooms, kind of cleaning up,
Just
showering,
cleaning,
shaving?
yeah, just
right?
doing a shave and trying to make yourself look a little more presentable, so
Right.
that when you walk into a mall or a store, at least you thought you looked like you belonged there, and
Right.
So you could attempt
right.
to do your
Right.
stealing
Right.
and get
Right.
away with it more easily.
Right, right.
And then the next day, the same thing. Continuous. And you can only do that for so long, and something breaks down. Either the drugs gets you to a point where you can't move, you can't walk, and you collapse, or you get arrested and you get put in jail for 3 to 6 months. And that all that is to a drug addict is that's just a home. It's a home for 3 to 6 months. It's 3 meals. It's a bed. It's a warm place for 3 months.
My question is if you could explain a little bit more about the living room, what its intended purpose is, and if it's still going to be here April of this year.
Just to give you a bit of background on the living room, the original intent